Welcome everyone to another live chat with CANRVRSUP. I'm Rebecca and I'm an instructor and part of CANRVRSUP. And we're super stoked to have this chat tonight and run through some of the programming that we get to offer you this summer. Just a reminder to anyone who's tuning in, if you share or comment, ask us questions, you'll be entered in to win $25 towards any skill program with CANRVRSUP in 2021. So make sure you send us your questions. We'll try to address them as best we can all throughout the show. And yeah, we're excited to hear from you. The draw will be announced on Friday, February 12th at 11 a.m. So share, chat, comment, ask questions. We want to hear from you. So we have a few guests joining us today. Reta of RetaSUP's fame will be joining us to answer questions on behalf of CANRVRSUP. Welcome, Reta.
Hi, Becca. Thank you so much for taking the lead and being the interviewer tonight. I'm excited to be here in a different role.
No problem. I'm super excited to be here too. So for those who might be tuning in for the first time, can you give us a little bit of an intro about CANRVRSUP? Why are we here?
Totally. So CANRVRSUP is a stand-up paddleboarding instruction business that is based out of Cochrane, Alberta. And we want to meet you at our local waterways to meet you at the level you're at and get you stand-up paddleboarding and progressing towards your goal, whether it's going on a flat water tour or going on a whitewater adventure. A big
Ooh. All right, I think we might
be joining us soon are here
there
tonight.
We go. I think we lost you there for a sec, Reta.
Oh no! What did you miss? What was the last thing you heard, Becca?
Live unfiltered. You're gonna meet us where we're at on the water that we're at, and we're based out of Cochrane, Alberta.
Nice. Well, you know, live. I love it. We've been having some technical difficulties, so hopefully they won't continue tonight. Am I still there, Becca?
Yep, you're still there.
All right, perfect. So we're going to meet you out on the water, and we are just excited to get you guys all paddling, meet everyone where they're at, and grow a strong and safe community. And as one of the longest instructors of the river, I'm really excited to offer some mentorship opportunities up to people like Becca and Jay to give them more experience teaching on the water in an environment where they can feel supported.
Awesome. So speaking of Jay, I'd like to also bring in the third part of CANRVRSUP, Jason Hay, the owner of J-Life 13. Welcome, Jay.
Hey, everybody.
And so Jay's going to be mentoring with Reta, as she mentioned, to be an instructor with CANRVRSUP this season. He spent a lot of time building skills and training, so he's going to give us some perspectives on SUP courses.
Yeah, for me, this has been the avenue I've been looking for because I've wanted to progress down the sport and trying to look for the right ways to do that, to get the right courses under my belt so that I can, if I want to, expand into certification. And so CANRVRSUP is allowing me to take all of those courses I took through Reta last year and through Aquabatics last year to actually come in and progress further down that road through CANRVRSUP and hopefully progress to the point where I can start instructing and bring my stoke to the group as well. So that's me in a nutshell.
That's fantastic, and I am stoked on your stoke.
How much stoke is too much stoke for one screen? I will let the folks in the comments be the judge by the end of the show.
Yeah, give us your feedback. So let's roll right along into it. Let's talk about some of the programming that is coming our way and who it would be a good fit for. Let's start off with the person that has never paddled before. What kind of a program would you recommend for them, Reta? They are fresh, they are new, they see someone doing this on Instagram and they go, I want to try that.
Nice. Well, that's a lot of people out there, especially with the crazy boom in the paddling industry last year. So many people went out and bought paddling equipment. So if you have never paddleboarded before, where do you start? In a SUP basics class.
Awesome. So with SUP basics then, what are some of the things that you're going to cover in that?
Well, in the SUP basics, we're going to cover 3 key things that are going to get you out on the water. So we are going to cover safety and everything that you need to consider in regards to your equipment, in safety equipment and paddling equipment. As well, we're going to teach you all the key strokes to get you out paddling around safely and having fun.
Fantastic. Jay, do you remember your first SUP beginner basics time or
I'm,
class?
I'm just glad there was nobody there with a camera. I was, I didn't even know what I was supposed to do with the paddle. I took the paddle and tried to pretend it was a canoe somehow. And so, just having that capacity to understand the right way to hold the paddle while still being conscious of not falling in the water, it was a challenge. So yeah, the first thing I did when I came back after that experience was find somebody who could teach me at least the basics on flat water so that I could not so much look like a turtle, I guess. So yeah, for me, it was big because I wanted to be competent at this new sport that I was all of a sudden going, hey, this looks really cool. I could get some fitness out of this and I could add it to my repertoire of all the other adventure things that I had. And I didn't realize how much I was going to fall in love with it. And hence why I'm here doing the Vanna White thing with you guys.
Becca, I do want to add to that something that I think is really important. And a lot of questions that I actually get in the back end on my social media is, what do I do if I fall in? And sure, for a lot of us young, fit, athletic people, it's really simple. We just say, yeah, we're going to jump right back on our board. But my dad is 73 years old and he's not quite as fit as me. And he's super excited to learn how to paddleboard this year. And one of the first things that I want to teach him is how to self-rescue himself. And I also am going to take the time to show my mom or his friends how to help my dad if he can't get back on his board. So I encourage you, if you're going to take a basics class, to sign up with your buddy so that you guys can learn how to help each other. Because sometimes we do get tired and we can't get out of that icy cold Canadian water that we have just fallen in on. So that is one of the biggest things that we cover in all of our classes is, what happens if we do fall in and how do we stay safe?
Awesome. And I think that's such a good point too, because you just as a safety perspective, you want to be paddling with someone. So why not bring your friend along for those basics classes and then boom, built-in paddle buddy. They know everything that you know.
Totally. And if you sign up with 2 or more of your friends, make sure you actually give the CANRVRSUP phone number a call because I'm happy to give a group discount to encourage you and your friends to get in a class and grow your skills together.
Oh, fantastic. Also, a quick shout out to Dave, who's tuning in from Fort Mac, and Andrew tuning in from Australia. Love to see it.
Aussie boy.
Yeah, we need to get Andrew, we need to get him coming up here. Or you know what, maybe as a team trip that we all head down. Exciting news, you guys might not know. David, all the way from Fort Mac, him and I have some secret trip brainstorming that we're working on. But he also took his advanced flatwater course with our girl Becca here. And you guys don't know, but he just signed up for his River One course. So we'll get to be paddling with David again this spring. So I'm super excited. And all of you guys that are out there interested in SUP basics classes, David is your connection up in Fort McMurray. So don't be shy to reach up to him. He owns Beyond Adventure.
Yo, David.
All right.
Fantastic. So just to wrap that up, if you're looking for some knowledge, a great place to start your SUP progression, the basics course, that's what you want to sign up for.
Yeah, the basics course is the place to start.
Beauty. Love it. So being, a few years into paddling, I have some friends that have been through some basics, but I also have a few friends that paddle on lakes and they're not sure if they are ready to take a river course. Maybe that's not where they're really looking for yet. So what would you recommend for those types of people?
All right. So if they are not quite ready to take a river course, or maybe they're really just into the flat water, they want to look at racing or going to explore the ocean, I am going to recommend for them our Flatwater Skills for the Rivers and Races course. This is a 2-night course, and it is going to show you that next step in flat water progression. We're going to learn pivot turns. We're going to learn how to move our feet around on our board. We're going to be making splashes with braces, and we're going to do some more technical turning strokes. And the best part of it all is all of our instructors have experience in the river and racing. So we're going to be able to teach you how those skills compare and can be applied to those different environments. I've had a lot of people take this course and they're like, okay, when's the next river intro? Because you've sold me. Now I want to go to practice all these strokes in the current. And so also, I know these guys have done the log jam race. We'll get them to talk about that in a second. But you know, those pivot turns around the buoys, right? Learning how to move back and get your board up. It's not only a cool way to show off for your friends, it's also going to make you the fastest one around the buoy when you go to race. So that's what we're going to learn in that foundations course. It is also an equivalent to your advanced flat water course. We're doing a Paddle Canada Advanced Flat Water Skills is our foundations course. So if you're looking to become an instructor, this would be the perfect place to know where your skills are at in looking at that instructor level.
Awesome. Jay, do you want to speak a little bit to Logjam and your experience doing some racing there and maybe how some of those skills came into play?
You know what? It was an amazing amount or an opportunity for me to do a bunch of recall because I just finished taking a whole bunch of courses, and that was my first race. And it was a community race in a great part of Canmore down the river, and it was amazing to be able to apply those quick turns, especially when you're paddling against or with other paddlers, and you have to make those corrections because you've also got to be aware of the fact that you've got a weapon in your hands. So, so making sure that I actually knew what I was doing, and I was able to make those turns without hurting myself or hurting anybody else, and had fun and broke a sweat and had a blast. But having that competency to be on the board and not be concerned about am I capable? I was more than capable, and I felt confident, and it made the day a whole lot more fun, especially sharing the beers afterwards.
Hey, Becca, I want to ask you, in my advanced flatwater instructor course last year, when you did our flatwater bracing drill for the first time, what was that experience like for you in the realm of learning braces?
Oh, it was like just a barrel of laughs. Because like how we do it is you have someone on, hanging on to your tail end of the board, and they're just trying to move it and flip you, and you just got to brace. And if you don't, you're in the water, but that's what makes it like just as fun. So like it's, even if you maybe aren't super sure about that advanced flat water, it's like there's some really great skills you can learn and like have a ton of fun doing it too. Like, you learn some basics, and to just have those extra skills like in your back pocket whenever you're paddling on flat water or moving into rivers or other environments, like, it's just great.
Note to self, if you're practicing pivot turns like I was doing on a lake one day, is don't wear a pair of really high quality Ray-Bans. If you're practicing a skill like that, because you're liable to lose them at the bottom of the lake. So unfortunately, just, caution to the wind there.
Yeah. No, you know what? I feel like every paddling instructor of some kind has at least one. I won't confess how many sunglass lost stories I have, but we all have at least one. And Alicia's right. She never stopped working on the basics. She's one of our like river students. She's out at all of our program and killing it on the river. But whenever we teach a new skill, she's like, oh, I got to go back to the flat water and hone that in, right? It's like, okay, Reta says that in order to do this river skill better, I need to work on my draw stroke. Well, back to the lake I go, and I'm going to practice that skill. So you know what? We say it in ski instructing all the time. If you're going to teach your students something new, you want to take them back to familiar terrain. So if you want to progress in the river, sometimes you actually have to go back to the flat water to practice and develop that skill before you apply it to that more challenging environment.
100%. And like I, as an instructor, do that all the time as well. So
Tina's lost some cell phones. All right. So that's the next step course. So honestly, I hope that course is one of our most popular courses over the summer. It's going to be 2 nights. It's going to be super fun. You are guaranteed to get wet. Me and Jay are going to be your primary instructors. We're going to have Bex and some few spares coming in. Guaranteed, you're going to want to dress in clothes that are going to keep you warm, because you're going to be making a splash, and you're going to leave with so much technical knowledge. Yeah, I'm going to be scared to race against you after anyone that takes that course. I'll give them all my secrets.
I will happily take them.
Yeah, right?
So essentially, like if we're looking at that course, just helping us stay on our boards, being the fastest around a buoy, or, cleaning Sweet Rapids, that's the one that we want to take. It gives us that solid foundation, makes our future SUP progressions, river races, whatever, like easier. That's the one we go for?
Yeah, that's the one. Back to the flat water to send it later.
Beauty. Also, some good shout outs to Logjam. It looks like we've got a few people who have been around for that race. Looks like Andrew's gonna hop a plane.
Yeah, let's do it. We need I'm manifesting that, events happen again in 2021, because events are a way that, I know we're not here to talk about events, but I just want to say they're a way that makes the community come together. It inspires a little bit of that competitive drive. It makes me want to go practice with Becca so I can see what SUP trick she's working on for the throwdown. And it just puts that drive in. We also always offer a ton of courses at these festivals and events, and it's a way to meet new people that might not sign up for our regular programming. People like the two that I'm sharing a screen with. If it wasn't for CanFest, we wouldn't even be here.
Yeah, my first river course was my second river course was with you at CanFest, and it was amazing, an amazing experience, and I learned so much. Had some really 2 days of just in your face, and especially as an infant in that kind of environment, you're stumbling over everything, you're learning all this stuff, you're getting all this input, and to be able to have a couple of days in a community where everybody's kind of tenting, hanging out, eating together, and heading out and getting into the water together. It's just a wonderful way to build community. And for me, it was a big reason why I'm here with you guys today, is because I just want more of it. It's just awesome.
I want to give a big shout out before we talk about our river programming here. Yeah, hell yeah, Kelsey. Her and I have some secret plans we'll tell you about in the future here. But Kelsey's a rad kayaker, and she used to organize CanFest. She actually was the organizer when we had our first SUP throwdown there. So big thanks to Kelsey for making that happen. And big thanks to her for getting me out and kayaking all the time. But I do want to give a shout out to Tina, who has been going crazy in the comments tonight. Shout out is that I'm headed to Squamish in June to team up once again with my girl, Tina Curry, and we are going to teach another flat to flow in Squamish. So we had so much fun. I'm not sure who had more fun, Tina and I or the students. But I got to learn a whole lot from Tina about the wind and the ocean and how it affects my beloved river adventures. Very different than our Canadian Rockies. And Tina got to learn a little bit more about teaching the river. And I'm so excited to see her continue to grow as a river instructor. And I always love teaming up for her. So if you're tuning in and you're near Squamish, or you want to go to Squamish, head to Normhan Expeditions and check out the Flat to Flow that I'm leading with Tina. I just want to say that I actually just love shamelessly plugging everybody. Nobody has asked me to do this. I just want you to know all these plugs are free.
Free plugs abound. Make sure you get your comments in. You might also
yeah, totally. So if you comment, you're probably going to get a free plug. So throw it out there. All right, Becca,
awesome.
take it, girl.
Yeah, so rolling back, we were talking a little bit about rivers, and CANRVRSUP based out of Cochrane. Bow River's right there. Calgary's super close. Bow River rolling through that along with the Elbow. Rivers abound in our neck of the woods. Why do you think it is important to take a river course before heading out?
All right, so why is it important to take a river course before heading out? Well, even more importantly than on the flat water, because I still think it's super important, the river has some unknown hazards that I think a lot of people are just simply unaware of. If you didn't grow up around the river, you didn't grow up in a whitewater paddling environment, right? There isn't a ton of education. It wasn't until I was, I think, 18 years old taking my first kayaking course when I learned what a log jam was, or what a sweeper was, or that, current flows downhill. I know that seems silly, but I didn't know how to read the river. I didn't really comprehend that the water was cold. And I'm not saying that people don't know, but you don't know until you do. So why not try it for the first time with someone that does know, someone that can answer your questions, help you feel more comfortable, and then set you free to go out and paddle. But there are things that you don't know, and you don't know what you don't know until you know what you don't know. And so we just hope to, share the love of education and knowledge, because the more people that can gain knowledge, even at that basic level, when they're entering that environment, the safer the community is going to be as it grows. So I really just want people to come out and have an opportunity to gain knowledge about the river, because it's a different environment that we might not know as much about, or as much as we think we do,
I know. Awesome. A great answer.
Yeah, sorry. I look at it like the ski industry, the ski touring industry, is that, I do a lot of ski touring. I've been doing it for 25, 30 years, and I love being back there. But the onset of people getting into it has expanded the risk, and people need to get more knowledge. And I found, as I got into the river, I realized just how much I didn't know. This 500-pound whale is there sitting. As much as it's enjoyable and fun, there's so much I didn't know. And to go through these programs and these courses really enabled me to just have a little bit more, I think, confidence in being able to assess, to have the safety awareness to say, maybe I shouldn't take that drop today, or maybe I shouldn't take that line or do something. So yeah, for me, it's very important to get in there with that safety component too.
Yeah. So Jay, maybe just building off of that, can you talk a little bit about your experience in river intro class? Like, what did you find valuable? Like, how was that for you?
For me, it was trying to do too much against the water, and really learning how to apply the stroke at the right time. And I think what was great for me from my perspective was working with Reta. She was continually taking video, so that we could, while we were there over this course, is I could go in and she could go, okay, this is what you're doing. See what you're doing. Now you can adjust your feet or adjust your paddle, come in a little higher up to the front of the wave. You're coming in too low. You're paddling too hard. Those are the kind of corrections that, unless you have somebody who knows what they're doing, you're never going to progress, because all you're going to do is get frustrated and struggle. And believe me, I've been on the water with people, and we've had meltdowns, we've had cry days, because it's just been a chore. It hasn't felt like fun. And for me, the only way it gets more fun is by learning more. So yeah, for me, it's been huge. Yeah.
Awesome. And just looking at Tina's comment here about, skill outweighs muscle and things. Reta, do you want to chat a little bit about what's covered in an Intro to River course?
Yeah, so in the Intro to River course, we're going to cover the key strokes that you may have already learned from the flat water environment, and how we're going to apply them to work with the current. Like Jay said, we don't want to work against it. We want to let the current do the work for us. That's why everyone knows I like to paddle with the river, because, it does a lot of the work for me. And so we're going to learn how to apply those strokes. We're going to learn how to move our board. So on the flat water, it can stay flat. On the river, we have to move the board as well. We're going to practice, I said it in the flat water, those self-rescues, the safety skills, how to help out a friend, how to use a throw bag, the required equipment. And we're going to talk about decision making. So while we learn about our environment, we're going to talk about, when is it okay to take my helmet off in class 1? Where should I go? What types of rivers am I looking for that I took now that I have my basics? And we want to make sure that people leave that course feeling like they've had their questions answered when going out and paddling a class 1 environment. So if you're looking to paddle on the bow around Calgary, get out with your friends. We want to make sure that when you're doing that, you've had an opportunity to ask your questions. We've had an opportunity to share with you some quality tips that you can remember, and you're out there setting a good example and staying safe. That's what we're trying to set you up for with that intro class. Safe class 1 paddling.
Oh, fantastic. Jay, do you remember your first eddy turn, your first ferry?
You know, the first eddy that I really felt comfortable with, I had to try to duplicate on the other side, which was like, riding with your left hand, and I'm right-handed. So that was nightmares. The first ferry was probably the hairiest thing I'd ever done in my entire life, because it was just enough white water, just enough flow to challenge everything I'd learned up to that point, and getting to the other side safely and standing up going, yeah, I got it. I couldn't get back on the other side, but it was awesome to be able to get at least one way. But it was that progression, having the ability to do, and I like this about what some of the courses CANRVRSUP offers, is you're doing it over 2 nights, is because you have that opportunity to hear what your instructor is teaching and sharing with you, applying it. But the second day really allows you to put all that together into one kind of cohesive movement and apply it in more of a flow. And I found always the second day way more pleasurable than the first. The first was like being overloaded by a teacher, and then, expecting to know everything, and coming back going, I don't know what's going on. Forward stroke, what? Back, I was like, so yeah, just practice.
I always felt that what Jay said, and this is the reason I'm going to elaborate. The reason why our course is 2 nights, I feel like that was a question Becca got answered that she was going to ask us. But that second night, like Jay said, as a student, after 1 night of learning about all these new things in this new environment and how to apply them, your brain is trying to process, and it's throwing in eddy turns, draw strokes, flip my board, get back on, swim to shore. What am I supposed to do? Feet up. And you go home, you go to sleep, you go to work, you have a normal day, and then you come back to class and it has slowed down. And we start each class with a review from what we did the night before. A lot of great questions come from my students typically in that review. And then we're able to build again and finish a great night, like Jay said, put it all together, because their brain has had a chance to sort of puzzle piece everything and how it fits together, as opposed when they first get that information night 1, it's just taking it in. They haven't put it together yet. So that's a big thing with that 2-night intro.
And if you're really, really lucky, you get the ice cream on the top, which is a little bit of serving.
Oh, serving. Yeah, totally.
Sorry, just had to throw in that little teaser.
Little spoilers.
Fire helmet. There we go. We're going to take that from Tina. Fire helmet. Too much info. Fire helmet. I like it.
That's a good one. Okay,
nice.
So what do we got there
going.
from? Okay.
What do you see?
So just to summarize, like if your goal is to float the bow, or if you want to progress to the next step, if you want to sup the river, this is where you're going to start.
Yes, this is the place to start. Honestly, you're going to have so much fun. And I caution you that once you take this class, it is, that famous rabbit hole Jay's always going down. You're hooked. These guys aren't teaming up with me to mentor, to be instructors just cause it's because they took a RVRSUP intro with me and they're hooked.
I'm having too much fun.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly how it happens, and we're just unashamedly putting it out there.
Yeah.
Once you get on the river, you're not going back.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, I'm 52, and I feel like I'm in my 20s again doing this sport. So you can do it at any level, you can do it at any effort. If I know a lot of people who don't do long rivers or hard rivers. They'd like to go on long lake journeys. So they have long, big boards and they'll go camping on them. And I think that's a great way to explore and to experience without having to put yourself into, moving water. So if you really want to get confident on that long board and go explore with your kids and your family on a weekend, this is where you do it for sure.
Yeah. And speaking of that, it's what whatever river is for you. Why are you taking this course? You know, I joked about my dad earlier taking his course and what I'm going to teach him, but we are actually going to put my dad through the whole progression this summer. And the reason is his goal after him and I went fly fishing on the bow. He was like, could we go on one of those things you stand up on? And he's like, I saw that picture with a rod. And so my dad actually wants to learn how to river sup so that he doesn't have to sit in the boat with one of his buddies and he can sup and troll down the river by himself. With a buddy on another board, safety first, you know, I'll probably be there surfing a wave as he drifts by. But he just wants that little bit of independence. So he's taking the river intro courses so that he can troll on his bad fisher.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a great reason.
Yeah. Tina, hey, Tina, just careful, man. My dad's going to be quick. Like he's going to come race ya. All right. So take it away, Becca.
Yeah. So we've now been through our basics. We have some advanced flat water behind us. We know the skills we're using on the river. We can float the bow, but you know, we have the friend that's just recently come back from CanFest or from Likely or one of those other premier paddling festivals and talks about how awesome it is to really dive into whitewater and, you know, tackle some sick rapids. What is the course for that person?
Well, the course for that person is the next step. So the next step course is going to be after you take your basic river intro. Maybe you've gone out with those buddies you took the course with, paddled the bow once or twice. We have some people that dive straight into it the next week and take their next step course. That next step course is going to happen where there's stronger eddy lines, stronger current, and is going to have more focus on personal safety and self-rescues and keeping your head up for how to help your buddies, right? If you want to start progressing into more challenging water, we need to make sure that we can stay safe as we progress, right? It's one thing to go down a river and swim a bunch of times and stay in the middle, and there's a lot of people that can do that. But if you can't stop by catching an eddy and your friend needs your help, you can't help them if you can't stop. So stronger eddy turns and stronger ferries, stronger moves to give you the skills so that you can stay safe as you explore in those class 2. That's what that course is for. If you've been going out and you've paddled the bow a bunch of times, maybe you started with a SUP basics course and then you've naturally flown and followed your friends onto the bow, the next step could be a great place for you to start, right? If you're already moving in and out of eddies, if your legs are already comfortable on the current, you could jump straight into a next step. What you might be limited on is just some of the lingo, right? The course is 2 nights again, so you'll catch up on the lingo, right? That's what you're going to have missed in River 1. We'll brush you up. We'll talk about that and I'll help you practice. Any skills that you've missed, I'm sure we can catch you up during the course. The ultimate goal here is if you're going to be paddling and playing at places like Harvey Passage, or you're going to start looking at exploring the lower section of the Can below Canoe Meadows, or even the Bow River below the Ghost Dam. This next step course is a really key course to make sure that you and your friends can stay safe.
That's awesome. Jay, have you ever tried to cross a really mean eddy line? Get into those big flows and big rivers?
Yeah. You know, I pushed myself to my limit last year and had an amazing time. I think the biggest takeaway that I had from a lot of the courses I took last year was really getting comfortable with self-rescue. Really getting comfortable with being able to turn my board over, being aware of my surroundings and being comfortable in the water and doing that spit test, as Reta likes to say, before you even get in, you know, and checking in with yourself, checking in with how I'm feeling today. Does that water look too much for me or does that look like too much fun? But yeah, I think the end of the season last year was a real test for me feeling really comfortable in white water that was at my limit. Knowing full well that I could pull myself out of it and rescue myself. Because if I can't rescue myself, I'm just a liability to everybody else. And so if I could rescue myself, have that confidence in my stroke, get myself back on the board, find that eddy line, find that green water that gets me out there, or I can ferry, even if I'm on my knees. I don't care. I've got 3 quick paddles. I'm in safety. Got my head, everybody's checking in. Everybody's doing their thing. Group's going, okay, Jay's okay. Old man's good. He's on his board. Let's go. Right. So that was my end of my year last year. It was just so fantastic the way that everything progressed.
That's so super. And yeah, I think, I'm with you on those, next steps, river courses, is that it just gives you that little bit extra so that, you can punch through that heavier ferry line without being kicked right back, the eddy line without being kicked right back into the eddy. You can feel a bit more confident, like tackling the bigger rapids and, bigger waves and taking on a drop. Like it's no better way to put it than just like the next step. Like that's where you're going on the river.
And you and I have experienced that course where we've had rough days where it hasn't clicked, where it's been hard. It's felt like a chore. But then there's been, that debrief afterwards. There's been that success that, we've actually accomplished. And then the next course or the next session, we were able to really feel more comfortable with it. And you and I have even had that conversation. It's just, today was hard, but I'm looking forward to tomorrow. So, and you have those days, sometimes it just doesn't click. And so give yourself the opportunity to go through that moment and those motions, and you can come out the other side, I think, with a much bigger smile and way more fun and way more confidence. And I think any paddler out there's had those days for sure.
See, yeah, totally. And so guys, I just want to clarify here quick that the next step class with CANRVRSUP is just a simple stepping stone to our basic intro. And so Bex and Jay are talking about how a lot of the different higher level programs that I've led in the past were also next steps, and how that they have helped them to progress to higher levels. And a lot of the examples that they're giving are really challenging, but they actually worked really hard and practiced in those higher level classes a lot. And it was just a different programming model. So I want to make sure that for those that are listening, that they're not thinking that this next step program is all of a sudden gotten really exciting and really intimidating. So the next step with CANRVRSUP is we go from our 2-night river intro and then to a 2-night next step. And these are going to set you up for your foundational class 2 skills if you want to keep working at Harvey Passage or progressing down the lower part of the can. It's going to be working on crossing eddies that are a little bit harder than the bow, stronger currents than the bow, but we're not looking at anything big or crazy or wild yet. These foundational skills are going to be what you need if you want to start progressing and dialing your skills to our next program that we'll talk about soon. But for our next step, you only need introductory experience to be able to sign up and progress in that program. It's to get you set up to learn and grow in class 2.
Awesome. So this is kind of the course that you're looking for if you want to kind of go past your float the bow phase and start to open up a little bit more of like the river world. You start to see some of those surf waves and maybe want to give her a shot. Or...
Totally. This is the doorway into the dark side.
It was definitely the tunnel that I went down for sure through that.
Yeah, totally. Nice. So those are our basic progressive programs, right? The intro, sup basics, right? Start there. Skills for flatwater skills for rivers or races, river intro, and our river next steps. Those are the skill-based progressive courses to get you started, right?
Get you comfy, get you happy, get you having fun while you're on the water.
Also get your habit on too, because if by that time I knew I wasn't going anywhere, I was going to continue going. So, and for me, it's awesome because there's just so many opportunities to be able to connect with people through this too. So it's awesome.
Awesome. So before we talk about where we go after that, I think we maybe just need to touch on what Andrew's mentioned here. He's talking about coming up to get some expert advice from Canadians, how to dodge crocodiles. Andrew, I don't know how much we're going to be able to help you with that. but we would love to see you up in this neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Anything there to add, Rita or Jay? Any experiences you can maybe pull on for this one?
Well, at high water season, sometimes, if there's a ton of wood coming down, I just choose not to paddle that day. But I have been paddling down rivers when there's a rogue log that wasn't there a minute ago, and now it just pops up beside you. So I typically do my best to, maybe in the moment I probably do pretend it's kind of like a crocodile or a secret animal. So I'm like, okay, where's this crocodile log gonna swim to, right? And I typically just try and get upstream and in an eddy so that I can watch where it's going to go, where it's going to get caught. If it gets caught somewhere, I can safely move by. But I'm just essentially trying to create as much space between me and the log. So maybe that's a tactic for the crocodiles.
Yeah, the only recommendation I would suggest, Andrew, is probably don't use a blow-up sup. use a fiberglass or something that, just in case you do get a little bit of a bite from a crocodile, that you're not going to be losing air too quickly. That's my only piece of feedback on the crocodile one. The only animals I've ever had to worry about on the river was coming down the bow and having to deal with a herd of elk that wanted to cross at the same time. And elk, for you, those of you who don't know, are pretty big animals. And, I'm not a big animal, so that was close, but I got some great shots.
Yeah, I've seen some bears, like definitely bears on the banks, fishing, and eagles, and but nothing ever really swimming along beside me. Even when I was in Costa Rica and stuff, I didn't really see that. I've seen seals when I was in Squamish. That was a highlight because they come up the Squamish River from the ocean. So yeah, sorry, Andrew. No, seals. All my animals, none of them are going to eat me. so I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, I think I've seen the odd party animal, but that's the extent of my wildlife on the river.
Can they see me pointing at Jay there?
Hey, I bring the stoke, not the party. I just bring the stoke.
And Alicia brings the killer moose.
Oh yeah. Ooh. Ow. Awesome. So, we've been through this progression, steps 1, 2, 3, 4. We are through our next steps. And I think Jay and I were starting to hint to it and lean this way and got a little off track because we're just a little too stoked about big rivers. But Rita, can you tell us about what happens after next steps? What has CANRVRSUP got for those people that just can't stop?
All right. So the next steps after the next steps is Whitewater Wednesday. And it's going to give you what these guys were talking about. So that next level, immediate coaching, immediate feedback for you personally in whatever environment, whatever theme we're working on that night. So who is this course for? Well, anyone that has either taken my next step skills, because you heard me say it's all about self-rescue and being able to stay safe and rescue yourself and help others. Well, it's going to be really challenging for me as the coach and the guide if I have to rescue someone every time they need help. So the reason we're asking for you to have that as a prerequisite is so that you guys can start to help each other and help yourselves learn, so that I can help coach and do more coaching in that role. So you guys can have more self-support and independence, right? For where we hope to grow. So once you have those skills, if you haven't taken a next step with CANRVRSUP, but you can dial in those self-rescues and you're on your board every time, you know what your basic turning strokes are, you know what an eddy turn is, you already know what a ferry is. Maybe you learned with a different program, or you just picked up because your best friend's Jay and you guys paddle all the time and you feel really comfortable. As long as you can do your self-rescues, you're welcome to that class. And so what are we going to do? Each week, there'll be a different theme. We'll pick a spot on a river and what we're going to work on. An example might be an introductory to taking a drop, an introductory to surfing a new wave, S-turns, jet ferries, all of those advanced skills that Jay and Bex took with me last season that helped take them to that next level. Help them understand what it means to read a harder rapid. We will be teaching you guys in a class 2 environment those skills that you can take and apply on your common adventures as you go out and explore harder, more challenging rivers. So Whitewater Wednesdays, if you want feedback, coaching, I will bring my camera. The GoPro will usually be set up. Personal feedback, personal coaching in a group environment, park and play. Honestly, I wish I kind of want to call Neil and see if he can come and teach a few so that I can just play.
I mean,
so the rest of us don't catch up too fast.
Yeah, actually, that's really what I meant. Thanks for letting that out there, Bex.
Yeah, it's an excuse to party and play. It's ridiculous and get great feedback. Yeah.
And it's always fun.
Always fun. And the biggest success I ever had was on one of your sessions when we did drops. And for me, for those of you who don't know what a drop is, if you're new to river, as I am, drop is going from this down to this, and the way that water flows and how you flow into that, paddle into that, coming out through the water at the other side, and having the capacity to learn about body position and driving through the wave as opposed to waiting for the water just to take you, which is a mistake I used to make all the time. But, until I realized that you're in control. So power the paddle through, and life's your friend.
Oh yeah, Kelsey, I boofed at. I boofed for sure.
Okay, Rita, being the kayaker here, do you want to explain to some of the audience what a boof is and why we may or may not do that on an inflatable SUP?
So a boof is essentially, and I apologize, whitewater kayakers, if I explain this wrong. This is my best interpretation. Essentially, if there's a rock and a little, there you go, Kelsey, she's like sick. If there's a rock and there's some water pouring over it, and maybe there's a little bit of recirculating water or something happening behind it, in your kayak, at least this is what I do. So if I'm doing it wrong, someone please call me. I paddle at it really hard with the intent of boofing over the recirculating water or the eddy line or the hole or whatever's below that rock. And so you go over the rock and kind of super launch into the air before you hit back down. And so, can you boof on a SUP? Well, it depends on how big your fin is, if you have one in, and how much water is actually going over what you're trying to boof. So I have had it quite successfully where I just took my fins off and I did some really fun boofs and launching. It doesn't feel quite as fun as the kayak. It's very different feeling because you're a little bit out of control as you're lining up for your target without your fin. But with a small fin and the right amount of water, cartwheel corner is boofable if you're allowed to use it in that realm. So I guess what that's saying, next week when the temperatures warm up, myself, Kelsey doesn't know it yet, but she just got invited. Jay, Becca, and maybe Gord and the rest of the kayaking crew. Let's bring out every boat and let's see, can we boof that? Yeah.
Well,
so can we boof
YouTube
that coming
series.
at you next time the temp's above -20?
Coming to you next week, the Buffon.
Yeah. And no, thank you, Kelsey, for the unintended sidebar. We
Very
appreciate it. Yeah, and she's also in.
Can't wait. This is going to be rad. So
Nice.
just throwing it out there to all the viewers that are still with us. Any remaining questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. Now's your chance. We'll take some time to answer those. And in the meantime, as you think about your stellar question that probably everyone else has too, I'll put it out. Anything that you would like to add to this conversation, Jay? And then I'll ask you, Rita. So start to think about your answers.
Yeah, you know what I did last year that I really, really had a great time doing was taking a swift water rescue course. And that just really allowed me, without a paddle, without a board, just with some really talented instructors who shall remain nameless, who took us out on the water for 3 or 4 days.
Travis Finlayson was our amazing instructor.
Yeah, Raven Rescue, by the way, big shout out. An amazing experience for me to just work with that kind of environment in an amazing way, and it gave me just that much more confidence getting back on my my board, being able to know that, you know, as long as I was practicing that stuff. And this was another thing that Reta and I did a couple of times, was even though I had taken this course, you have to practice that stuff, otherwise it all gets lost. You know, even the basics of throwing a bag. How many of us go out and actually toss a safety bag, you know, a rope bag? How many people just practice that? So for me, just getting into that kind of thing was really, really good and great. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm only chuckling. Tim, if you can translate your question, he's super happy to answer it.
I'll answer it.
And I want to say, and to shout out to Jay, so in that the Raven Rescue course that my good friend Travis Finlayson was teaching, Jay and I think that was our first like team bonding, like real intense, like it's down to the two of us and we have to pull this off. It's make it or break it. And you know, I'm pretty sure that's when we became like real best friends, because we were trying to set up a tension diagonal. And if you don't know what we're talking about, I suggest you go take a Raven course. Another one of those free plugs right there. So if you don't know what that is, and so we had to string this like really heavy line, and there's a ton of force. And I swear this is right up there with one of the hardest things I've ever done. And I know we're sitting down, but Jay and I aren't the biggest people in the room. So we're two, like, you know, maybe 250, 300 pounds together if we're lucky. And we're heaving on this rope. And the carabiner is within like an arm's reach. And Jay says, I don't got it. I said, one more, and I reach and I clip, and we did it. And that was just, it was, you know, it was our first big accomplishment together, was setting up this rope. And I would say it was way harder than either of us thought. So again, we didn't know until we took the course and actually tried doing it. We would have never comprehended how challenging that was actually going to be. So we do have some questions.
An amazing moment.
Yeah.
An amazing bonding moment. And this brings up buddies, you know, and being out there with people that you're comfortable with, and being on the water with people that have also taken similar courses. Because then you know, for me, having that experience with Reta, knowing that I was at that point where we had a breath and that rope was gone and we would have been screwed, and she was able to get that moment, get that beater, and we saved the day, and we came out looking like heroes, and it was awesome.
Awesome. That's why you want these two as your instructors, just chucking it out there. They're heroes. So we have a couple of questions. Amanda wants to know if we rent out boards for people who have taken our course. Reta, anything to pitch in there?
Right. So unfortunately, at this time, we don't rent out our paddling equipment, just because in addition to our regular programming, there's other programs or partnerships that actually utilize our paddle boards. So what I would recommend is, if you're taking our courses, we're going to answer Al's question next, so we'll tell you what's included in our courses, but we will have equipment for you after our course. If you love it so much, you will have paddled on a badfish board in our programming, and you can buy those boards at either Aquabatics or Bow Valley SUP or many other retailers over Alberta and British Columbia. So fortunately not at this time, but maybe soon. Who knows, as we grow.
Yeah.
All right, where's
TV.
next? Alicia?
Next questions, yeah, coming from Alicia. What kind of gear do students need to take one of these courses?
Nice. So right now, we have all the paddling equipment that you need. So whether it's for the flat water or for the river, we will have the board, the paddle, and the required safety gear. Now, when it comes to thermal layering, depending on the time of year, we've actually teamed up with Kelsey's Caravan, who we were bantering with in the comments there a little bit earlier about boofing, so that we can get you guys some wetsuits and splash tops in the event that it's chilly outside. As the weather changes, we will also work on getting some media out for you guys to, recommend layers that you have around your home that you can use that are going to keep you warm when wet. Essentially, that's what I'm always thinking about when I'm going paddling in and around Canada, anywhere really. Is it going to keep me warm when I get wet? And so we'll do some media and stuff to release that out. But, come on out. And if you're not sure, just give us a call. I love talking on the phone. You guys can tell I love talking. So don't be shy to call CANRVRSUP because, I'd love to answer all your questions and make sure you have all the right gear.
The only thing that we, enjoy, paddling is always first, but then talking about paddling comes in a very close second. So give us a call.
And gear and talking about paddling gear, the trilogy.
Yeah, nice. Oh, awesome. Sweet, guys. Well, that was super fun. And I want to make sure that everyone knows that myself, Jay, Bex, we're always open for questions. I'm sort of the full-time girl. If you're going to call that phone, that's who you're going to get. If you're going to send us a message on Facebook, it's probably going to be me that responds. So don't be shy. I always like to chat about paddling. Yeah, it's all I talk about.
Awesome. Any final words before we go on our merry way?
Let's get stoked for paddling.
Yeah, it's like my season. I think my first shadowing SRT course that I'm taking is like at the beginning of March. So yeah, it's not even a month away, guys. Paddle season is less than a month away. It's like a week away. It's gonna be warm next week.
Yeah, real quick. Awesome. So thank you everyone for joining us, for letting us chat about paddling. As Rita said, if you have any questions, give us a call. We've got a CANRVRSUP number. Reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram. I think that's kind of about most of the ways you can reach us, and guaranteed you'll be able to get at least one of us. And still have some opportunities. If you share this with just the rest of your social media followers, you can still win $25 towards CANRVRSUP course. And hopefully you leave this chat knowing what course or courses you want to sign up for come, spring, summer 2021. And also check out our website, CANRVRSUP.ca, and Rita's just popped that into the comments for more details and for more contact information.
Totally.
And
I'm going to add one last thing.
Okay, go ahead, Rita.
The river one, our first river intro class is sold out. So if you're considering taking a class this season, you should register soon.
Mm-hmm.
Reach. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks again for joining us, guys. We cannot wait to see you on the water this year.
Cheers, everybody. Good night.
Night.